right? No time.
Depending on where you are, welcome to day 2 of the Black Womenprenuer 18 conference down here in Tampa, Florida. Today, it's been an amazing day thus far.
Yep.
Was up early this morning with some of the women doing some fabulous things. We just got to listen to Sherwood give us some good tips on what you need to do to become a paid speaker and do it fabulously. And now we're in our breakout sessions. And I know for me, just being here, it's been amazing just to be in the room and feeling the energy that's in the room. And just meeting all the different young ladies from so many different walks of life. So it's been passionate for me, even though I'm one of the speakers, just being here. So today, in the 30 minutes to change your life, we're going to talk about money, power, and position. All of those things, they play such an important role in your business. So money, power, and position. The first thing I come up with when I think about money, my question to you would be, what is your mindset around money? What is your mindset around money? Think about that for a second. Because how you handle money in your personal life that's how it's going to be transformed into your business life. So if you don't know how to handle money over here, you're going to wonder why your business is not successful and why you're not elevating in the manner in which you want to. So let's go over this a little bit. The first thing I want to say is, how do you pay yourself in your business? Do you believe in paying yourself first? In any business, anything that you do, and when we say pay yourself, that's typically around saving, right? So if you work in corporate America, and when you split your check, if you split your check, my assumption would be that you're going to put a portion over here to go towards your bills, a portion over here to live life, and then I'm hoping that a portion is also going to go to your savings. That savings is that bucket to pay yourself first. That's the same concept you want to think about when you're thinking about your business and how you're operating in your business. Most people don't realize in business, you should be operating on 70% of your income, of your gross revenue that's coming in. And 30% should be sitting aside, kind of growing for you with some compound interest, and it's kind of working for you in a way in which you're able to then leverage it. So you would say, well, Andrea, how can I do that? Goes back to the basics. Pay yourself first. Because when it first comes in, as soon as it comes in, split it. Because if you don't have 100%, you won't function at 100%. So if you only have 70% in that main bucket, you're going to learn to function off of that 70%. And then when you look up, your 30% is growing. Now, what do you do with that 30% sitting over there? One of the things we want to make sure is that we are diversifying our income. And that goes on the personal side as well as the business side. So when we're diversifying, we want to make sure that we're leveraging it in multiple ways. And so that's why you always hear you want to have at least 7 streams of income. But then you say, well, if I got this one stream, how do I get the stream number 2? That bucket over here that you're using to pay yourself first is going to begin to help you get stream number 2. And then as you build that bucket up, it's going to help you to get stream number 3, number 4, number 5, and so forth. And so one of the things is you want to be making money when you're asleep. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. You want to be making money when I'm standing here before you and the office is still open and clients are still being served. I want to be making money, right? And so how do you get there? Some basic things. But it first starts with, what is your mindset around money? Because if you're used to getting $100 in your hand and then spending $100, you're going to do the same thing over here in your business. So ladies, think about, what is my mindset around money and how I interact with money? Am I used to touching it, or am I okay with swiping a card? Or do you have it where, and I'll give you an example. In my office, 3 different things happen. So I have clients who we service on a monthly basis. So half of those clients pay on the beginning of the month, the other half pay on the 15th of the month. But now I'm going into tax season, which is a totally different stream of revenue. Well, the funds that come in from tax season goes directly into the business savings account. I don't even see it. So when I need to make moves and I need to do things or I want to invest in something else, I have this nest egg sitting over here waiting for me to say, I'm ready to diversify into another bucket. Okay? So again, I'm working and we're operating off of this one stream of income, and then as multiple streams come in, they're automatically going into different places. So I know a lot of people use PayPal, a lot of people use Cash App, a lot of people use Square. And I have some clients who use all three at the same time. And that's fine. If that's what you're going to do, have PayPal set up to go to one account, have Square set up to go to another account, and have your Cash App set up to go to a different account. That way, as the funds are going in, you're making it easy. One of the things that I always tell folks, automate it and just make it simple for yourself, right? Because if you got to be the one to do it, it ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. If you got to be the one to say, oh, I just got this 100 and I got to put the 30 over here, that 30 is already spent before you get the 100. Am I right? Already spent before you get the 100. So for me, automate it. If you have different tools that you're using, have them automatically going to different places. It's mindset. It's all about mindset. How do you view money? What are the things that you should be doing? And here's the other thing. For my ladies who are saints and they in the church, tithe off of that income. Because I promise you, if you are a believer, what you're giving away will come back tenfold. But you have to be strong and faithful in that. And so I can't leave that piece out without talking about when we talk about the 7th and the 10th. You know what I mean? Right. So mindset around money. Now, one of the things when we also talk about mindset, we think about how are you set up to sell to the client? I have so many people, I say to them, okay, so you provide a monthly service. Well, how does the client pay you? Well, Andrea, I wait for them to send me my check every month. Oh, do you? Okay, so I have a question. When you sign up for that software, do they wait for you to send your charge card in and say charge you? Or do they just say, thank you for signing up and we will be charging you on the 1st or the 15th of the month? Which one is it? Because I know everybody I sign up with, it's the 1st and the 15th. So let's think about that for a second. If this is how the companies that we're working with are operating, why aren't we operating the same way in our own businesses? Ladies, we are out here to make money. That's how you stay in business. So if that's what you're going to do, then set it up. That means now you need to make sure that you got a merchant company. You need to make sure that you have a business account. You need to make sure that when you sign this agreement with this client that you're going to do a monthly service with, you have an ACH agreement that they're signing that gives you authorization to go ahead and debit their account automatically, whatever date y'all agree on. It could be the 1st, it could be the 2nd, it could be the 15th, whatever. But you're not waiting for that client to pay you. You're going to get your money because you're providing the service. That makes sense? Absolutely. So these are just some of the things when we say mindset around money in business and as well as personal. Because again, what you do over here in your personal life, those bad habits are going to transform to the business. As well as the good, not only about the good. However, we want to make sure that you are setting yourself up for success. This is Black Woman Takeover. This is Epic 2018. This is Black Womenprenuer 18 Conference. So we are positioning ourselves to be able to scale up and make it to the next level, right? So again, we're still on money because there's so many different ways I can go with money and our mindset and what we do and what we don't do. One of the other things I want to say is, and I said this yesterday, what are you feeding your mind? What are you feeding your mind? Is your mind open to change? Because change can be uncomfortable. Change can be very uncomfortable. However, if you say, I'm here and I want to get to here, and then when I get here, I want to get to here, what are you doing to take those steps to get there? So for me, you got to read. You have to surround yourself with other people. I said yesterday, one of my 2 favorite books is Think and Grow Rich. Ooh. There is
got it right here, girl.
There you go. There you go.
I'm gonna tell you I ain't lying.
I love it.
Boom.
There you go.
Okay.
My sister right here got her book.
Girl, like a 10 times. Girl.
Mine is on my Audible. So that means it's on my phone, it's on my iPad. It stays with me. I read that book at least 3 times a year. Yeah. At least 3 times a year. There's so many hidden nuggets in that book. And here's the good thing about it. Every time you read it, you're in a different place in your life. Right. So that means you're getting something out of it that you didn't get before, right? So we gotta feed our minds. I hate when I hear people, and I'm using the word hate, but it's so strong, but this is a strong statement. I hate when I hear business owners say, I don't read. How is that possible? How is that possible? You cannot elevate to the next level if you don't know and understand what's going on. Because the reality is, this is 2018. That means whatever it is we're trying to do, somebody has already done it. Don't reinvent the wheel. Right. Don't reinvent the wheel. And when you read, you're opening your mind for change. Laws of Success. That's my book number 2. Because I believe that what I'm around, that's attraction, right? So the energy that you give off, I receive it, and then it bounces off, and I give it to somebody else. That repellent. But I'm receiving it first before I can then put it back out. So money mindset. I'll give you an example. I just watched Warren Buffett's documentary. Now, if you know who Warren Buffett is, for somebody in my industry, that man is a book of knowledge. I sat there and I watched this documentary, and I'm over there taking notes. Like, wait, pause, play, pause, hold on, rewind. Oh, did he say that? Okay, let me go on Amazon and get that book right quick. There were so many nuggets in this one documentary that this man dropped. And what I appreciated about him was, and he's about 80-something years old, he said, yeah, you know, my wife gives me about $3 every morning for breakfast. He's a billionaire. I just had breakfast at the Hard Rock Cafe, and it cost me $17 for some eggs and bacon and toast with potatoes, okay? He said, yeah, I get about $3 every day for breakfast. And so typically I'll spend about $214 or $286. What? What? And that's his daily routine. And so what that tells me is, as a man who is wealthy, that he understands not everything I get got to go back out the door. That's a mindset. That's a mindset. It goes right back to what I just said, that 70-30, you know? So for me, my mom, 7 years old, we took a walk, went up to the mall in my local neighborhood. We opened up a bank account. And she said to me, okay, Andrea, your weekly allowance is $5. Okay? Yes, I got $5. I'm probably going to the candy store. Pause. Because 10% got to go to church, got to go to God. I said, okay, Mom, all right. 10% got to go to savings. Okay, all right. And then 10% got to go to some charity because somebody else is always in need. So I'm like, wait a minute.
That mother was powerful.
Right? This was at 7. So at 7, I got $5 that I'm holding in my hand. I'm on my way to the bank with her because I got to put up $1.50. So now I only got, right? How much left that now I gotta figure out how to make that $3.50 last me
To the next week.
till I get the next $5. I'm 7. I wanna go to the penny candy store, right? But what my mother was instilling in me at such a young age, when the mind is so impressionable, is what we know as adults is the 10-10-10 rule. Now I know that 7. All I knew was I got 5. I got to give away $1.50. Now I got to make this $3.50 last till I get my next $5. If you can make $3.50 last, that means you can make $350 last or $350,000 last. As long as you have the foundation, you have the mindset. It doesn't matter how many zeros are after it, right? Because now I already know what to do. So at 7. She taught me what to do, and I still have that same bank account today through all the changes, right? Because that's what she was instilling in me. So when you think about mindset, you think about money, you can't let it burn through your hand. You want to make sure that when I get it, it's something I'm supposed to do with it, and then it's something it's supposed to do for me. And when you have that two-way street with money, you can't go wrong. You can't. Now, don't get me wrong. I went to college and I made some mistakes. I acted like I didn't have no sense, and I got a credit card and I spent it up, and all that kind of stuff. However, so I'm not saying anybody by no means is perfect. However, it's one of those things where you try and grow up and you're like, oh, when I grow up, I'm not gonna do that, Mom. My mom clipped coupons. Oh, she was the coupon queen. I ain't clipping coupons. What? Ask me, do I clip coupons? You know I clip coupons, right? It's the inevitable, right? So we grow up and we try to say, I'm not going to do this, but if it's ingrained in you, it's going to happen, right? So that's money. We talk about mindset, money. Let's talk about power. Ladies, we possess so much power. When you think about the things that that has happened, the changes that has taken place and that will take place, the root of it all is always a woman. It's always a woman, right? And so sometimes I believe that we don't necessarily take hold of what we truly can do. And that's one of the reasons why it was so important for me to be here at this Black Womenprenuer 18 conference, because I needed to remember, I needed to be reminded, let me say it that way, and then I needed to tell someone else how powerful we are. Because when you got a great mindset about money, and then you recognize that you're powerful, that's a winning combination all day long, right? Because power means I can walk in a room, not even open my mouth, and the presence of me alone will command the room. Because I just walked in with confidence, smiled a little bit, gave them that eye, and they were like, well, who is that? I didn't even say hello yet, and they went, well, I need to meet her. Absolutely. And then you say good morning. Because you already know you got something to say, right? I heard a long time ago, if you're not in the room, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Right? So I want to be in the room, and I'm going to be at the table because I need to be around the decision makers. And I need to be around those who are up here since I'm only right here, right? So that I can continue to elevate. And then the ones who are behind me, I'm going to bring you on along with me because we all going to do this together. So, ladies, recognize the power that you hold. I gave some statistics yesterday, and I said, right now, as not even just as Black women, but women in general, we are killing the game, okay? 7.9 million businesses are owned by women. That's no small feat. 7.9 million. 1.4 trillion is what's coming in revenue dollars from women-owned businesses. That's a country. That's an economy. 1.4 trillion. Not million, not billion, but trillion. 1.4 trillion. A little over 1 million are being employed. So us as small business owners are employing a little over 1 million people. Again, that's an economy. When you talk about power, and ask yourself the question, why are they trying to oppress women so much? Why are they trying to oppress women so much? If you ask yourself that question, just sit and think about that for a second. What is it that we have that someone else recognizes that we have, and they want to make sure that it don't come out, right? So if I keep them quiet, if I keep them oppressed, then they won't challenge whatever it is we're trying to do. Ladies, recognize the power that you hold in your own right, in your own space. There's so much out here for us to do. As when I sit, one of the things that I do on a daily basis is I get up and I watch the news. I'm very in tune to the news because in my industry, things are always changing, constantly changing. I need to know what's going on in DC because the questions are coming, right? Mm-hmm. We're in loom of a shutdown right now, a government shutdown right now. Mark my words, I promise you, how when this deal gets made, that a woman will be behind it. Mark my words on that. A woman will be behind it. Now, I do believe the government's going to shut down. I think we're going to feel the pinch for a day or two, and they're going to kind of feel like they got to get their acts together. However, it's going to be a woman that's going to bring that bipartisan agreement together, because that's what we do. That's what we do, right? And so we may not always get the credit, and that's okay. However, we know who's moving things behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. So recognize the power that you hold. And then the third piece of this is position. So we said money, got our mindset. We said, okay, I know I'm a powerful woman, and for me, I'm a powerful Black woman, right? But position. How are you positioning yourself? That's the third element. And when you think about position are you doing things on purpose, or are you just doing things? Are you saying, I'll use I just shared this with my friend this morning. I said, well, there's a conference that I go to every year. I don't know if you guys know this man, but I'm going to give him a nice, generous plug because I love this man. If you remember growing up with Dudley Products. Do you guys remember Dudley Products?
Oh, yes.
So the owner of Dudley Products is Mr. Joe L. Dudley, who is based out of Greensboro, North Carolina. Black man. He started this business with $10. He started Dudley Products with $10, okay? And he turned it into $1 million company. They just celebrated 50 years in business September 2017. Wow. I'm not 50. So they've been in business longer than I've been alive. How powerful is that? Okay? Now this man is a wealth of knowledge, and he's been a mentor of mine now for 4 years or 5 years, about 5 years now. And one of the things I said to her this morning was, every year they do a conference in May down in Greensboro, right? I said, let me tell you something. Come hell or high water, every year I'm going to be at that conference. Not just because I love Mr. Joel Dudley, but because of the network that he has. He got some heavy hitters, y'all, that comes through this conference, and you just sit there, and it's like one of those, Andrew, close your mouth. You and all. It's just so much, so many nuggets are being dropped. And so when you think about position, I said, okay, I need to be here every year. So by me going to this conference, by me getting out and meeting people, then I was able to meet George Frazier, right? Mm-hmm. Met George Frazier. We're standing there at the table. I'm like, George, are you a Sigma? He's like, yeah. I said, okay, Frank, now come on. He's your face over. Hold on. I said, yeah, I'm a baby. Right? But in that moment and in that connection, it was me and my girlfriend. He stood there with us for 30 minutes and dropped so much knowledge that I was just like, dang, I wish I had it recorded. I was recording it. That's position.
Yes.
That's position. It's not being in the right place at the right time. That is position, because I deliberately made a conscious choice that I was going to show up to that conference, right? That was position. And while I was there, who did I run into? Shay and Trevor. And what did they say? Andrea, you need to be at our conference come January. Now here we are, January 2018, and I'm speaking at the Black Womenprenuer. Yeah. That was from position. So ladies, how are you positioning yourselves, and are you doing it on purpose? Yeah. When you say, I want to meet so-and-so, well, where does so-and-so hang out? Yes. And have you decided to show up where so-and-so is? And when you get there, make sure you make yourself known. That's it. It's position. You know, and someone said, well, I don't want to feel like, I'm a groupie or I'm sweating this person. Listen, I'm far from a groupie. Mm-hmm. And I'm far from sweating anybody. However, if I know that I'm going to learn something from you, you got a word to give me, and it feels right in my spirit, I'm going to show up, and I'm going to show up on purpose, right? Because at the end of the day, I know whatever it is you got to give me, I need to receive it so I can continue to elevate. So I already got my mind right. Mind is already right. Mindset is on point. I'm still growing. I'm still learning, because Lord knows I'm a work in progress. However, I got enough to know my mindset is right around my money. And then I accept the fact, and I'm allowing it to blossom, that I'm a powerful Black woman. And now in this journey of entrepreneurship and business, I'm making sure that I'm positioning myself so that my company, number one, can continue to grow. The second additional endeavors that I want to do as I'm growing it, I'm positioning it. I'm ready to take it to the next level. And I'm saying, well, how can I take it to the next level? Well, who's killing the game right now? Who do I need to be associated with in order for me to be able to do that? I don't know. Shay and Trevor. I'm at their conference. I was at Sherwood's conference this past November. Powerful, the PTIO conference. November. I think she does it the first weekend in November every year. I was at her conference, right? I was at George Frazier conference back in July. And so what I'm doing now is I'm positioning myself, ladies. I'm showing up, and I'm showing up on purpose. So that when I get there, it's like, well, oh, she looks familiar. Why she look familiar? Do I know? No, you don't know me, but let me introduce myself. I'm Andrea from Philly, right? You know what I mean? Yes, I own an accounting firm, and I work with small businesses. That's what I do. Been doing it for about 23 years. Okay, Andrea, I'm ready to go with my 30-second spill. My elevator pitch is on the money. So when you ask me what I tell you, always be ready. Show up and be ready. And if you're uncomfortable, act like you're in your living room. I'm comfortable in my living room. Mm-hmm. Little cat be there. I might go in a couple of times, right? But I'm saying all this to say, when you position yourself and you have a clear vision on where it is you're trying to go, you can't do nothing but win. And winning is what we're here to do. You didn't leave that business or leave that job to then create another job for yourself. That's not what, at least I hope that's not what you did, right? You left the job to start the business. And the business should give you some level of freedom and flexibility to be able to do some things differently. My sister right here said yesterday, it felt good to come to the conference and know, oh, I ain't got to take a sick day, right? I ain't got to call out like, yeah, I ain't coming in today. And don't post me on social media. Because let me tell you, when I started my business, I started on my mother's dining room table. Not even my own, my mother's dining room table, right? And because I was in corporate America and accounting, I wasn't even advertising that I had a business. Because I didn't want them to come back and say, oh, it's a conflict of interest.
Yes.
You can't operate this business, Ms. Jack, because you work for us. Because I wasn't ready to step out on my own yet, right? So I operated very silently, by word of mouth. I let people know. Next thing I know, I look up like, wait, hold fast, because this was just a hustle. Next thing I know, the business is competing revenue-wise with the full-time job.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, my story is a little bit different, but this is what my journey was. And so it was like, oh. And then I found myself talking out of both sides of my mouth. I'm looking for a new position in the company. I was with a good company, right? And on the other hand, I'm like, God, if I was working full-time in my business, I would be killing it right now. So I know he was looking at me like, this child of mine, what is she doing? Because I'm like, if I can just get a new position, maybe I'll feel better. But over here, I'm like, but if I was working full-time in this business, I know. And so he said, okay, let me work this out for her. Because clearly, she ain't going to make a decision. And if she do make a decision, it ain't going to be the one I want her to make. So let me work this out for her. He made a very comfortable situation, been there for 10 years, all was well. And just like that, he made it uncomfortable.
Yeah. Wow.
I was like, what happened? I like this job. Like, I enjoyed every 2 weeks. And it was one of those, that picture where God is asking the little girl for her small teddy bear. And behind his back, he has an even bigger teddy bear. And all he's saying is, if you trust me, right, I got something bigger and better. And I found myself in this moment just letting go. Just letting go. And he gave me something so much bigger and so much better that I'm like, I can't believe come August of 2018, even though I just celebrated 12 years in business, I'll be 5 years full time, no corporate paycheck in my business come August of 2018. 5 years. Thank you. And I'm not saying it as a congratulations. I'm saying it to let you know when you position yourself and when you put in the work, you will be rewarded. It's going to take some time. We know it's not going to happen overnight, but you will be rewarded. And what he said to me was, you've had your head down, you've been grinding, you've been doing your thing, and now you're ready. Mentally, you're ready. You've accepted the fact of who you are. So when you step out there, you're going to be able to give of yourself. And that's what I need you to do. Continuously be a servant. And I was like, dang. And when I looked back, and what brought this to my mind was, it's January, it's the new year. We change our calendars. So I'm changing my calendar over, and I'm, going through each month, writing my little important dates on it that I want to remember. And when I got to August, I was like, oh, August 13th, 2013. Ooh, August 13th, 2018. And that's what brought to my recollection that it's going to be 5 years. I got employees. I'm employing people. I'm a part of that little over 1 million businesses of women that are employing people. it just, it's one of those things where sometimes you take an outer body step and you just, it's surreal for you for a minute because you so engrossed in what you're doing. And like I said, you're not doing it for the glitz and the glamour, you doing it. And when you look up, you're like, oh, okay. Well, maybe I did do a little something. Thanks Jesus, because I know what? Nobody but you, right? And so that's the beauty of being a Black woman entrepreneur. That's the beauty, because we understand that we bring so much to the table. But one of the things that I want to leave with you is, and I said this earlier, make sure that, because I've just really become much more conscious of this, make sure that when you are in this place of serving and you're in this place of giving and you're giving of yourself, make sure that you're also positioning yourself to be replenished.
Yes.
Because you do not.
Yes.
You do not want to just give, and not get nothing in return. Make sure that you are positioning yourself. That is so important. And for me, as I'm going into my high time of the year and I begin to work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, I'm exhausted. But I find ways now where I get what I need to continuously replenish me, right? And that is so important because as women, we are innate givers. And we oftentimes don't look for, even though we may need it, we don't look for what we can get in return to be replenished, right? And so they say, well, do you look at the cup half empty or do you look at the cup half full? For me, I look at a glass that got water in it. And I know I need that water for hydration. And then at some point that water is going to exit me. And so with that being said, I need to make sure that, hey, whatever I put out, I'm getting back. Or whatever I get in, I'm putting out, right? It's a reciprocal thing. And so I can't stress that enough because time is money. And time is something that we cannot get back. And so when you give your time and you decide I'm going to be here, I'm going to show up there, I'm going to do this, I'm going to that. And then when you get home, you have nothing else. You're done. But if you got a family, if you got little ones or big ones or people that just depend on you in general, well, what else you got to give? Because you done gave everything to everybody else out here in the street. So be mindful of that. As powerful as we are, we want to be mindful of what we're getting in return. So when I think about what I get in return, I come to conferences like this. What did I say earlier? Just being in the room. You ladies don't even know what you're doing for me. That energy, that's my source. Just being in a room of other powerful Black women who are CEOs in their own right, doing their thing. I'm sitting back like, well, I ain't got to say nothing. I'm going to sit right here. I'm going to take this all in. I'm going to enjoy this because oftentimes I'm the decision maker. I'm the one that got to do everything from A to Z. So when I can be in a room like this, just taking in all of the goodness, sign me up. Where I gotta be, where I gotta show up at, right? That's the difference. So money, your mindset. Accept the fact that you are powerful and how you deliver that. And position. How are you positioning yourself for growth? How are you positioning yourself for next level? How are you positioning yourself to accelerate? Don't stand in your way. Don't be the person that bottles you up from being able to move forward. So with that, I'll open the room for my ladies in the room. Questions. Let's have a conversation. Thank you. 30 minutes to change your life. But I'll open the room. Let's have a conversation, ladies. How you feeling?
Great.
How you feeling? Awesome.
Now, okay, so for do you do taxes in New Jersey as well?
Yes, ma'am, we do. So we service all 52 states. And technology has changed the game that we don't necessarily have to be physically where you are to service you. Now, for us, because we're based in Philly, we do a lot of New York, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland. That's where our biggest footprint is. And then as I travel, we meet different people. We pick clients up in other locations.
Now, you're personal and business?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And we are a full service accounting firm that is open year round. So DMP Financial Services is my accounting firm located out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And if you want to find out about us and get all the nuggets that we just talked about, as well as what we did yesterday, you can text in. The number is 71441. Again, 71441. And the keyword is Smart Biz. That's SMARTBIZ. Smart Biz. So if you text into 71441, Smart Biz is the keyword. That will open up the opportunity for you to begin to connect with us and get a lot of our good stuff. Also, you can find us on social media. Our handle across the board is the same. It's D as in David, N as in Nancy, P as in Paul, Financial. DNP Financial. So that is our handle across all social media. That's a great way to stay in contact. One of the things, I'm going to say two things. Number one, as small business owners, tax season is upon us. It starts January 29th. As I said earlier now, it's a little bit after 12. I haven't had an opportunity to check the news and see what's going on. What I will say, though, when I woke up this morning, we are in loom of a government shutdown. And so you want to ask yourself, if a government shutdown happens, how is that going to affect my business? For me, in this season, that will be a major impact on my business because the Internal Revenue Service is the government, right? And so if we have a government shutdown, that means any tax returns that I transmit ain't going through because ain't nobody there to receive it, right? And you see I'm using the word ain't because I need to emphasize on how important this is, right? So then that means I got a lot of angry clients wanting to know, well, when can I even expect a tax refund? Or, whatever. So a government shutdown is huge, and you need to be mindful of how that's going to affect your business. And the last thing I want to just emphasize on is, in December, Congress passed a bill, which is one of the biggest tax reforms that we've had in years, and I mean years. And so we need to be mindful of how all of these tax reforms is not only going to affect us on the business side, but also affect us on the personal side. So I implore you to connect with me on social media. During tax season, we do what's called Tax Tip Tuesday. So every Tuesday I go live, I get intimate, I'm at home on my couch. So you see me real relaxed and real comfortable, but we answering your questions. And so the first couple of Tuesdays, I'm going to be going through and breaking down this new tax reform because it is so important and so many people don't understand. I said it this morning. I did a call-in to a breakfast meeting this morning, and I said, ladies, there's no Vaseline, there's no cocoa butter. They are giving it to us raw. So what I'm saying to you is, what is happening in Washington, D.C., there is no buffer. What the changes they are making will have a direct impact on your pocketbook. And so if you aren't paying attention, get with somebody that is paying attention. Someone that can educate you and inform you, because this is major. We have not, Reaganomics wasn't even this bad. So I can't impress upon you enough how important this tax reform is. And when we talk about position, making sure that you're in position for what is going to come down the pipe. Now, some of us are hopeful, and we said, well, if the Democrats get in, they may begin to repeal some of this, but it's still a process. And so what my assumption is going to be that even if that happens, they get in November 2018, we won't really see any change until 2019, which means 2019, when we're doing your taxes for 2018, that's at least 1 year that we will feel the effects of this Trump tax reform. So I can't impress upon you enough to make sure that whoever your tax person is, whoever your accountant is, make sure you get some time with them to sit down and talk about how does this tax reform affect me? Not me and my mama, not me and my girlfriend, but me. Because everybody's tax situation is different. So how it affects you may not be the way it affects you. And so you want to be clear on that. If you feel like, you know what, well, Andrea, I don't really have anybody that I feel comfortable enough to sit down and talk with. You can always call our office, and what we've done is we've built a network of accountants around the country. So if you're in California, if you're in New Jersey, and you say, well, you know what, Andrea, I like you. However, I think I do want somebody that's local. I have people that I can refer you to. So however you decide to do it, but I just want you to make sure you sit down with someone and begin to have the conversation. Because now you're interested in it from an individual standpoint, and you're also interested in it from a business standpoint, okay? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so when you talk about referring and tax accountants and tax, what I have discovered, because I do have an accountant, well, I had an accountant, not every accountant understands bookkeeping and things of that nature.
Yes,
and so
ma'am.
what sort of credentials do we need, especially business owners, that we need to be up on top of, like you said, be on top of the game, how making sure that whoever we hire has the right credentials, has the right understanding of what our needs are. So what are maybe a couple of right questions that you would ask, like I'm interviewing someone to be my accountant. I've done this 20 years, and so I've had a few accountants, a few different, but I had to get a real good feeling like, okay, because you're bearing your soul to this person. This person's gonna know all the secrets. Underneath the bed, the tables, in the boxes.
It's the truth.
You know, and all the receipts that you didn't find, you gotta figure out how. So tell me, what are the questions? Because it's a trust issue for me. Because I don't easily trust after having some that did not do what they say or didn't understand, or I didn't ask the right questions. Sure. And then I got in too far and I wasted too much time and too much money. So can you help me with that?
Absolutely. So just to recap, we have someone here in the audience, and her question was, what do you do to make sure that you're getting the right person and the right fit? So, and when we say the right person, the right fit, an accountant for you and your business. So first thing I would say is you use the right terminology when you said interview. It is an interview. You are interviewing that person as well as that person is interviewing you. So if an accountant isn't willing to give you a consultation, whether it's a free consultation or a paid consultation, run for the hills. Because you want to make sure that in that consultation, that's where the exchange takes place. And there's a few things that should happen when that exchange is taking place. Number one, everybody is not a good fit to be my client. And I'm comfortable enough in business where I know that. So what I'm saying is every dollar isn't a good dollar, right? All money isn't good money. That's number one. So you're looking to see, can I vibe with this person? Can me and this, do I feel comfortable with this person? And to me, that's all your spirit. Your spirit is telling you, yeah, something about her that I like. Yeah, I'm gonna talk to her a little bit longer or him a little bit longer. That's the first thing. The second thing is you want to ask this person, what type of accounting work do you do? Because one of the questions that I always get, well, I need a CPA. Well, what do you need? Well, I just need my books done. Then you don't need a CPA, right? And so sometimes we get hung up on credentials, and that's where we wind up getting hurt up a little bit, right? So in those credentials, you want to find out, are you someone that works with small businesses? Yes or no? Are you someone who is familiar with the tax code? Do you do small business taxes? What you just asked me, yes or no, right? And if so, tell me about that. And now they're going to open up and start saying, well, so for me, if you were asking me that question, yes, our focus is on small businesses with 100 or less employees. And we focus in this niche because for me, coming out of public and corporate accounting, the focus is always on a medium to larger size business. However, these small businesses have the same needs that these larger businesses have. And you can't afford to pay a large CPA firm the money that a large company is paying you. So I want to focus where I know I can build a relationship and I can really get into the nitty gritty to help you. Because if you're going to come in my office, you're going to walk out educated. You're no longer going to say to me, well, Andrea, I don't know what type of tax form that I should be using for my business. No, you're going to know. Because if you go somewhere else, I need you to walk away knowing I got everything that I'm supposed to get, right? And so, in you asking those questions, it's now opening up the dialogue to go a little bit deeper, right? So then you may say, well, I just started a clothing line, and I'm in the retail space, and are you in Kansas as well?
Missouri.
So, and being in Missouri, do you know about what the sales tax is or could not be for a retail space? Now, you may already know the answer to that question because you're in that industry, but what you're doing is testing this professional to see if they know the answer to it, right? Because if they don't know the answer, then that might not be the accountant for you. Because in that space, you want someone who knows. So for me, if you came to me and said, well, Andrea, I'm in retail and I'm in Missouri, I'm going to say to you, well, Andrea, right?
Right.
I know retail, but I need to learn Missouri. You see what I'm saying? So I have retail clients, but every state operates differently. See, in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, retail doesn't have sales tax. But in Missouri, it just may. I don't know. So then if I decide and we decide that we're going to work together, then my job, my team job is now to read up on Missouri state law. That's the difference, right? But if I say to you, oh yeah, girl, I got retail clients and I know all about Missouri, you guys don't have sales tax, and you looking at me like, okay, great. And in your mind, you already know, I can't work with this person because she just made a statement that I know isn't true. That's the difference. And that's why you want to make sure that when you sit down to hire a professional, not just an accountant, a lawyer, who you going to bank with, your insurance person, all of the above, interview them. Because at the end of the day, you are hiring them to work with you for your business, right? And you want to feel comfortable there. And don't get me wrong, relationships go awry all the time. But at least for me, I always say, I want to at least start off right. Like, I want to start off feeling good, warm and fuzzy. I don't want to start off like, and I'm going into a relationship with you, because for us, it's a contractual agreement. So definitely that word you use was interview. You want to interview that professional. And you want to make sure, and you just gave me a great idea. I'm going to put an ebook together on the top 10 questions that you should ask to interview an accountant. Thank you, Andrea. I love it. And this is why you need to be at the Black Womenprenuer 18. Black women take over. Out of a question came an idea on how I can then help the masses. But that is very important, and I get that a lot. But interviewing a person is very important. And again, for me, I feel like personality. We have so many accountants that say, no, I don't need to see you, just drop the stuff off. No. I need to see you.
That's right.
I need to see you. And if I'm not going to see you face to face, we need Skype, we need FaceTime, because it's through that conversation that I'm going to get all the information that I need. Because if you're just filling out a questionnaire, there's so much that you left off that you didn't tell, right? Yeah. So, yes, ma'am.
And it seems to me that part of what you're saying is this is you taking control over your business.
Oh, absolutely.
Because a lot of times when we go meet with professionals, CPAs, lawyers, or whatever, we act like they're doing us a favor, as opposed to us hiring, like you said, interviewing them. But we act like they're supposed to just do us a favor. We're supposed to be, as opposed to taking control over your business, knowing what you want, answering the powerful questions, getting the answers that you need so that you can make the best decision. I'm just glad you said that, because it just helped to reframe my mind.
And so, my mom always told me growing up, the dumb question is the question I asked. I'm going to ask you 1,000,001 questions.
That's right.
Till I feel content that I got everything that I needed to help me make whatever decision that I'm going to make. You know what I'm saying? I got you. Because so for me, like I said, I left this part out, but I may have the opportunity to meet Warren Buffett in February, right? I'm super excited. So I don't even know if I'm going to, but I just might. So in that might, girl, all I got is questions. Because if I get a chance, I'm prepared, I'm ready. Listen, Mr. Buffett, question number 1. You know what I mean? And we're going to get it. So that's how you should be in your business, because your business is your baby, right? And so if you're going to look for a daycare center to take your child, you ain't going to just be like, well, that one seems like it's a good one, because they always got people coming in and out. So that's where we're going to sign them up. No, you're going to do a site visit, right? You're going to interview the directors. So what y'all do up in here? And how do y'all work? And you know what I mean? Because you want to make sure that this is going to be a safe environment for my child. Well, guess what? Your business is your child. It is your baby. And so you want to make sure that if I'm going to work with this accountant, because you said something very important, the accountant probably knows the most information. More than the lawyer, more than the banker, more than the insurance person because we are the ones that see everything, like you said, right? So when you go in here, you're looking to build a relationship. And you want to make sure that if I'm going to turn over some of this important information about my business to you, are you somebody that I can trust? Are you somebody that I feel like should be on this journey with me as I'm growing this baby into something bigger? That's the mindset you want to go in there with. Because then when you go in with that mindset, now you're like, okay, the questions that you need to ask with that mindset, they're going to come. They're going to come. Because you already know I'm going in here with protection over what's mine. Are you the person that's going to help me? Or are you not? Right? Did you have a question?
Yes. So for a new business owner, what's the 3 top things they should have in place coming to their accountant?
Okay. 3 top things you should have in place for a new business owner coming to your accountant. First thing is you should know what your entity structure is. Are you a sole proprietor, an LLC, a partnership, an S Corp, C Corp, nonprofit? That's first and foremost. And number 2 is going to be, did you register in your state? Mm-hmm. Because I have so many business owners that's like, well, girl, I got my EIN number. Right. Okay, great. But did you go and register with your state? Right. Because if you read that identifying the form on the IRS website when you go to get your EIN number, one of the questions that they ask you are, what state are you registered in? Not what state are you going to register in, but what state are you registered in? Means you should be registered in this state before you get this EIN number. So you want to make sure that you are registered in the state that you're going to be operating in, or either you're a foreign entity, because on the East Coast, a lot of people will register in Delaware, but maybe operate in New Jersey or New York. So you just want to make sure you're registered in the state. And then secondly, depending upon how new you are, if you're, say, new, you are already operating in, say, 2017, you want to make sure that you have a business account and that you are not commingling your funds. Top 3. So you want to make sure that you know what your entity structure is. You want to make sure that you are registered in the state that you are going to do business in, and you want to make sure that you already have a business account set up. One of the first things that people do, and they don't even know that they do it, they pierce the corporate veil. So as an LLC, which most people register as a single member LLC, when you commingle funds, and the whole point of being an LLC is to give you an additional layer of protection outside of yourself. When you commingle funds, if something happens and someone sues you, first thing they're going to do is go to your business account. And they're going to want to see, did you have personal transactions? Did you pay your rent out of your business account? I'm sorry, your home rent out of your business account? Oh, you did? Great. You just pierced the corporate veil. So not only can I come after your business, but now I can come after you individually. Wow. And so that LLC protection is no longer there. That's why and sometimes we don't always go so deep into that. We just say don't commingle funds, but I'm just giving you one of many examples of why not commingling funds is so important. So those would be my top 3 answers.
Do you know I never heard that before until I heard you.
Google it.
No, I'm just saying. You gave like that piece, that nugget information, and I've been as a business owner, because I like to learn, right, and feed myself. I've been to so many accounting meetings or like meetings on business finance. And do you know I never heard that? Never heard that until today. Now I've heard them say don't commingle, but I never heard them say why.
Well, bankers definitely, especially if you're going for loans.
Right.
You know.
Right.
That's they don't want to.
But that's crazy. I never heard that. I've always heard don't commingle. Just don't commingle. Don't commingle. Don't commingle. But never like why not to commingle. That's awesome that you said that. That's amazing.
Thank you very much. And so
great nugget.
One of the things, so this is a great time for me to put my plug in, right? So the Smart Biz Academy is a new thing that we just started. So we're on Instagram, the Smart Biz Academy, TheSmartBiz Academy. We're on Instagram. I just started the page, and what the Smart Biz Academy is going to be is just that, what you just said, Tina, in the sense of being able to go a little bit deeper in the training and the education. Now, my assumption would be one of the reasons why maybe you've never heard it is because typically we have such a small window to get so much information out, right? So all we're going to tell you is, hey, don't commingle funds. But sometimes we don't always have a chance to go deeper into it. So one of the things that I found, and what now my 23 years of doing accounting is when business owners walk in, they don't know what they don't know, right? So you may not know the questions to ask, or you may not realize the question that you asked just spawned another thing for me to say, right? And so with the Smart Biz Academy, one of the things we're going to be doing is some more deep diving training education for my small business owners. I am passionate about that. That is one of the things that I love the most. I love what I do from an accounting perspective, but I love the educational side of it because what I know is teach one, each one teach one. And so when I give you something, I know that I just helped you become a better business owner, right? Because that little piece of information,
you don't know what you just did.
Right, it's gonna stick with you. But then most importantly, when you got another girlfriend or another friend and start a business, you gonna say, listen, you gotta do this, you gotta do this, but let me tell you something. Don't you commingle no funds. So now you're speaking on behalf of me and any other accountant. You see what I'm saying? So by the time they get to me, they're like, oh yeah, I know I can't commingle funds. And I'm like, all right, okay, I can work with you because you know you're willing to learn. That's the difference. So
now, is there a time period to where you have, because I've had commingled funds before. Like if I go out and take somebody out or whatever, I didn't, like sometimes I don't think twice about like, I put on the wrong card, right? Not the wrong card, I just put on the card because I didn't know the severity of commingling funds. I'm like, hey, whatever, you know. So is there a time period where you can now start fresh again because now you learn not to commingle funds, or do I have to start a whole nother business account?
Are you saying just start that day?
Yeah, like I'm saying, like if I start now that I know, like what the severity of it is, because now you scared me straight, so I'm like, oh shoot, I'm not gonna do it anymore, you know? So now I'm like starting today, right? I'm gonna make sure I separate. And I'm just being real, you know? Yeah. So I'm like, you know, and like for instance, like my son, like I gave the babysitter, so when he comes home for that hour period, I gave him my credit card. But it's my business credit card to go and make sure if he wants lunch or something like that until my baby is home to take over. So I got my business cards at the house. I got my personal card here. You know what I mean? And the reason why I did that is because I find it easier that if someone manipulates my business card, you know what I mean? I kind of know because I don't spend that much on it. Whereas my personal card, I'm always spending things and I'm always, you know. So I said, let me give her a card that has, you know, easier access because I don't really buy too much, but I have commingle. So my thing is now, oh shoot. So when I go home to Jersey now that I know, because I'm like coming after me, if I do it starting the 21st of January and no longer commingle, what's my threshold to get out of that now so that I can be on a safe journey? You know what I mean? What do I do?
And are you penalized?
Okay. So two good questions, and I'll definitely answer that. So what the question was is there a threshold around when you stop? Is there a time period? And then are you penalized? So the answer to that is no and no. However, well, no and yes. However, so the Internal Revenue Service, they understand, like we just went through an audit with a client. And so they understand that, you know, people, especially new business owners, when you first start out, that is the typical case, right? And what they want to see is that once you're told, do you make a change? Because then if you're a repeat offender, then yeah, I may want to slap you with the highest penalty or the highest fine. And, you know, because I done already told you not to do it and then you continue to do it. However, if I see where you started and then now you realize or you just learned today on whatever today is, January 19th, I'm not going to do this anymore. So going forward, January 21st, I done turned over a new leaf. I can see the change. Then they may have leniency on you in the event you were audited and not penalize you for that. You know what I'm saying? So it's not that it's necessarily a threshold, but what is expected is that if you are going to go into business, there is an expectation from the IRS point of view that there are certain things that you know because you made this conscious choice to go into business. And commingling funds is one of them, right? So it's not in theory, it's more like, I don't want you to do it, period. However, we understand that people do it. And so once we educate you and we tell you, then we expect that you don't do it going forward. And then that will determine, in the event you're audited, what your fine may or may not look like. Because sometimes you might just get a slap on the wrist. And it'd be okay. And then sometimes you might get penalized heavily because, again, you have some people who just straight paying their mortgage out their business bank account. Like, really?
That's if you get audited, you're saying.
That's if you get audited. But understand, so what can trigger that? What can trigger that is I'm doing your taxes, and I say to you, Andrea, okay, what's this charge right here? And it could be Citibank mortgage, right? And you tell me, oh, that's my home mortgage. And so then what I do, you're like, but I want to take that deduction. So I put it on your business tax return as rent.
Oh.
See what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So what happens is, let's say you made $100,000 and your mortgage for the year was $10,000. Well, your deduction isn't going to be $90,000. You're going to pay taxes on that $100,000 because that personal transaction that you spent out of your business account is not deductible to your business.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Tracking, yeah.
So people are asking
That's
like, well, how is it that I made $100,000, but I'm still being taxed on $100,000? Because $10,000 of the money you spent was personal.
Right.
That's why we say just pay yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What was one of the first things I said earlier?
Right.
Pay yourself first, right? So as a business owner, whether you're an LLC, an S corp, C corp, whatever, pay yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And when you pay yourself, now I can deduct that because you're the owner of the business or you're the officer of the corporation. We expect that you're going to pay yourself, right? So your salary is a deduction, but your mortgage isn't.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know every month you got to put out $1,000 for your $1,000 for your mortgage, then go ahead and pay yourself $1,000. That's now deductible, and now you get the deduction. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But instead, people are like, well, this is my account, and this is my money, it's business, that. And so they go off and they swipe the business card.
Girl, I'm about to call her right now. Don't do that.
Let's say you were talking about EIN numbers and registering them with the state that you're in. Let's say you move from one state to another state. Do you just get a different EIN number?
No. So your EIN number is federal, and your registration with the state is what says you're the state. So let's say you started your business in Florida, and now you move back to Philadelphia, right? Your EIN number stays the same, but now you either need to do one or two things. You need to register in Pennsylvania as a foreign entity because you originally started the business in Florida, and maybe you don't want to disrupt that, or you come to Pennsylvania and register as a new company in Pennsylvania. So those are your two options. However, your EIN number can stay the same.
Or you can change it.
Or you can. You always have the option to change it.
Okay.
But if you're just moving from state to state, there's really no sense in changing because you're already going to build a history with it. But that is an option as well. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm going way back. You were talking about, when you first talked about the operating at 70%. I've never heard of 70-30. I've heard of 80-20, but not 70-30, which I think that's
It's the 10-10-10 rule.
right. I just heard of 10-10 and then, yeah. Okay, so anyhow, you were talking about tithing. And so you were saying, are you saying that you should tithe off, I mean, this is a personal question, of course, because everybody doesn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
But off of just your 70, or are you saying off of your, I mean, how, or all of, or you, I just wanted clarity on that.
So
I think I'm
for me,
right, and I think it's a personal choice.
Yeah, it is a personal choice. I tithe out of my business, and I tithe off of my income that I receive from my business.
Oh, well, you pay yourself.
Right, because those are two separate things.
So what
right?
you tithe?
I'm about to answer.
Okay.
But I just want to clarify that I tithe from both because I am an officer of my business, right? Because I'm a corporation, so I'm an officer of my business. And I tithe off the 100%. So when I get that $100 in, $10 goes to tithing, and then and that's a part of my charity bucket, if you will.
Okay.
Right? That's the 10-10-10. So that's what I do. Now, some people do it a little bit differently. However, what I found is, again, 10% goes to savings, 10%, and really 20% goes to charity, if you will, because churches are under the charity bucket. However, I'm separating and saying 10% of that is charity and 10% of that is tithing. You know what I mean? So that 10%, that $10 is coming off the over 100. So they're not getting $7, they're getting $10.
And you just to each entity.
Correct.
So tithing, and then you have your charity,
Correct.
which is the church.
Well, no, I'm
The tithing
saying
is the church.
tithing is the church, and then 10% also is for charities because we support
Oh, okay.
different
Community,
charities.
the community.
Yes.
Community. Okay, and then you take 10 off your personal.
Correct.
Okay, so what's the difference in that and just taking? Okay, when you take 10 off, just that's the 100 is what everything that comes in.
Correct.
So you're actually doing an extra on your own personal on top of that.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Because what I'm saying is, I will not, and I'm speaking this into existence right now, I will not always physically be working in my business. At some point, and I'm working towards that now, I'm going to be out speaking and doing different things. I'm going to be building up the Smart Biz Academy, and DMP Financial will still be paying me as the owner, as the officer, but I may not physically be in there doing tax returns.
Gotcha.
So I'm treating it as if when I get my paycheck every 2 weeks, right, I am an employee of this company. So these are two separate entities, even though I own it. You know what I mean?
Do you have it automated too?
I do.
Okay.
I do. Right. So we're on. My people are on payroll.
Yeah.
I'm on payroll with my staff. So it would be just like if you had a regular W-2 job. In the back office, I say I want X amount of dollars to go here and X amount of dollars to go there.
And that's easy to set up when you're not in the same state too.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So all of this it really has nothing to do with like state lines or what state you're in from a payroll perspective, right? Because if you are, like Tina was in education, so working for the school district, you gotta fill out your W-4, and then they give you a bank account sheet that says, how do you want your money to be split. So I give out all that same stuff when I hire new people. So when I filled out that paperwork for myself, I said, okay, I want this amount to go to the savings, this amount to go to my bill account, and then I want this amount to go to what I consider my overall account, right? So for me, I separate my bill money into a totally separate account. That way I know bill money is always there. You know what I mean? And then again, on the business side, I'm doing the 70-30. So the company I think that philanthropy and community service is very important. And so we have 10% that I put into a bucket. So when someone says, I'm having this community event, can you support the March of Dimes? We already have a nest egg that we can say, yes, we can write a check to support, this cause or that cause. So what I've charged my staff with this year, this is the first year we're doing this, everyone has to do 32 hours of community service under the company name. And so they are able to do that on company time or on their personal time. It's up to them. But we're going, and then 4 times a year, we're going to do a community event together. Because I believe that, community service and philanthropy is very important. So again, preparation, position, how are you positioning yourselves to get to where you want to be? And so when I look at a Bill Gates, and he has the Bill Gates Foundation, and they're doing wonderful and amazing things, why can't I soon one day have a DMP Foundation? And we're doing wonderful and amazing things. But it starts from when you're small, right? And it starts with that mindset and how you treat money and how you are taking your power and positioning yourself.
You have another business, and that's financial literacy. I mean, you should be teaching us how to become more financial literate.
That's going to fall under the Smart Biz Academy.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. And so you are right, and I thank you for that, because that's where I'm passionate, right? And I love what I do over here, but I'm passionate about this. And so I had to kind of go through that phase of figuring out how I was going to do it. So I've been doing financial literacy for a very long time, but it was just because that's what I wanted to do. And now I'm kind of taking it to the next level and really doing it. So, yes, ma'am. So Smart Biz Academy on Instagram. If you haven't followed us, text in 71441 Smart Biz. 71441 Smart Biz. That will get you connected with us, making sure you're getting all of our tidbits. Like I said, the week of the 29th, we'll begin to go live again, doing our Tax Tip Tuesdays, getting out all this good information. And I thank you, ladies, for just coming in.
We thank you.
On what you're going to do in 2018 to make this an epic year for you and how you're going to begin to change your life. So thank you once again. Hashtag Black Woman Takeover. Black Womenprenuer 18.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Awesome.
I am the CEO of C-Suite Women's Network, and I help women to be the CEOs of their lives so that they can be better CEOs of their businesses. Now, I work with women who want to take it to the next level of their business. They want to get greater business results. They want to transition from corporate America into having their own business. But one thing about being in business is this. Business does not always go as planned. Well, guess what? Neither does your life. Which is why today I want to talk to you. I want to have a very candid conversation about going from breakup to breakthrough. And I want to give you 5 critical steps that it takes to get back to the business of you. Because, when we go through a breakup, it is a very impactful event in our life. And it can keep us from taking care of business. And as business women, whether we work for ourselves or whether we are working in a business, we need to get back to business. And, it is something that's really very important and something that I want to help you to get back to business. So, you may ask, what gives you the credentials to do this? Well, you know what? I had to go through a breakup to get back to business myself. And so this is a moment of transparency, and it is also a moment of sharing my journey with you. Because I had the fortune of being a coach. So I know how to coach myself, so to speak. And so the very steps that I used, I want to share with you. So you may be asking, why do I want to listen to this? Why is this important to me? Well, the very obvious reason could be that you've recently gone through a breakup. You may have ended a relationship. You may have recently gone through a divorce. You may be going through a divorce. You may have even suffered the loss of your loved one through death. You may have broken up from a long-term friend, because breakups come in several different ways. Sometimes it is literally the breakup of a relationship. And sometimes it is something that we've chosen for ourselves, and sometimes it's something that has been chosen for us. So even if you were the one who decided to end the relationship, or it was something that happened beyond your control, it was decided for you, either through divorce that was initiated by someone else, or even death. It is very important to use the same strengths that you have in business to get through your personal life. And so we're just going to have a conversation. I'm just watching my time because, I could talk about this forever, but y'all don't want to be on here forever. But we're going to have a very candid conversation. So, the other person for whom this might be helpful is the person who has broken up, but the relationship is still intact. Now you're like, okay, that's not a breakup. Yes, it is. And here's why. Because sometimes, when we're in relationships, we may be experiencing a period where the relationship is not all that we desire. And we are still together, but we're not. And many times in relationships, the relationship is still intact. You may still be married. You may still be living together. You may still otherwise be in a relationship, but you was broke up as the day is long. And it's because you've had that mental separation that either precedes the actual breakup or could lead to the end of the relationship. And so in getting over a breakup, or getting through a breakup, or patching up a breakup, at the very heart of that process is getting back to you. So that's why I want to talk to you. Now, there are several steps or several things that you have to go through to actually get to the breakup, get from breakup to breakthrough. And, I went through a literal 30-day process. Okay, 30 steps. But I'm not going to do all 30 steps today because, one, we don't have that amount of time, and two, it is not that easy. But what I do want to talk about are the 5 critical steps that it takes to begin your process. And the first thing is this, we have to recognize that loss is a beautiful thing. And you're like, okay, no, losing something is never beautiful. Yes, it can be. And it can be when you decide to look for the beauty in the moment. And, I always like to use the literal symbolism of being in a storm. And let's see, 15 years ago, or no, 13 years ago, I was in Hurricane Katrina. I lived on the Mississippi Gulf Coast when Hurricane Katrina hit the Gulf Coast. And I literally remember being in the storm. And I remember, the process before. I remember that while the storm was just ravaging the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and I remember the time period afterwards. And here's the thing that I learned from that devastation. And while I will never celebrate a devastation, what I do want to celebrate is the renaissance, the rebirth, the renewal. And I remember during that process that, literally there, was coming out of the storm or coming, going back out to go back to my home after the storm had passed. And actually I remember like being in the storm, there was just all the wind was moving around me. You could hear the rain. You could hear kind of everything that was going on. It was seemingly chaos outside. There was a moment of peace when the center passed over, when the center of the storm passed over, the eye of the storm passed over. Then the wind and the rain came back, and then the storm was gone. And I remember emerging from the safe space. I had happened to have been in the hospital. I was a hospital executive, so I had to report to the hospital. And so I was actually there during the storm. I remember going back to my house and looking at all the devastation. I remember getting back to my house and how it was just ravaged by storm waters. I was fortunate in that I was not slabbed, meaning my house was still there, but the water had come in and washed out, and it was just a real ugly scene. I remember going to the end of my street. I lived on a peninsula. I remember going to the end of the street, and those houses had literally been wiped away. So it was like a bomb had dropped on the end of my street. And I just remember the days afterwards and the weeks afterwards when you went from the immediate devastation until the point where those houses, some of them were rebuilt, some of or the debris was moved away, and when the entire Gulf Coast went through this period of rebirth. And in getting through that process, one of the things that I had to do was to focus not on the devastation of the storm, but on the celebration of the rebirth, the renewal, the renaissance. And that's why I say that loss is beautiful, can be beautiful. And it's all about perspective, but it's also about making the choice to move from devastation to celebration. And while you're not celebrating, again, the loss, what you do have to celebrate is the opportunity for rebirth, renewal, and renaissance. And so, the beginning of this journey is taking that moment to be still. And I love the imagery of the words, peace, be still. And when you're in a storm, when you're in the devastation of the breakup, when you're in the devastation of the decision to break up, when you're in the immediate aftermath of the destruction, while it may be counterintuitive, what is the best thing to do is to say, peace, be still. Because there's power in stillness. And it's not a moment of nothing happening. It's not a moment of defeat or not a moment of giving up, but it is a moment of regaining momentum. And if you really think about like a literal storm, remember I described, being in that process where the storm was passing over, then the eye passed over, and then the rest of the storm passed through. When that eye passes over, that's energy being recirculated, regenerated, renewed. And so if you're going to go forward, you need energy. Because this breakthrough process is not something that is passive. It's not something that is done in it requires energy because you're literally rebuilding your life. You're rebuilding your reality. You're rebuilding who you are. That's why I say getting back to the business of you. So it's really very important to have that moment of stillness where you can gather your energy, gather your momentum, and gather the reserve that it takes to rebuild, renew, rebirth, and have your renaissance. So this is the thing that I want you to remember as we begin this process. I want to empower you with stillness so that you can go forward. Okay? So as I mentioned, there are 5 steps, 5 critical steps of getting back to the business of you after a breakup. And before we go, because I know that there are those of you who are out there watching, here's what I want you to put in the comments. I am still, and it's STILL, I am still, hashtag, I am still here, hashtag, I am still moving forward. Because many times you may feel stuck and you may think that, because your world has been turned upside down, that all of a sudden you are no longer here, but you are still here. That's why we're getting back to you. We're not recreating you, we're not creating you, we're getting back to you. Because in a relationship, and particularly one that has gone through any level of tumult, okay, whether it is something as simple as people growing apart, although people growing apart is simple yet very complex, or a domestic violence situation, or an otherwise toxic relationship, it doesn't matter which end of the spectrum, it is still devastating to be torn apart from the one you love. And so you have to recognize you are still here. So for those of you who are out there in the online, I want you to put that in the comment, hashtag I am still here, which is why we're going to get back to you. So as I mentioned, there are 5 critical steps to get back to the business of you after a breakup. And we're going to go through those 5 today. And if you want the opportunity to have a conversation, I will give you that opportunity at the end, where we can talk more intimately about getting you from your breakup to your breakthrough. And remember, hashtag you are still here. So there are 5 steps. The first step is focus. Second step is to do with forgiveness. The third step is dealing with your feelings. The 4th step are your fears. And then the 5th step is vulnerability. Okay? So I'm going to talk about each of those, and those are very critical. And while they don't have to happen in that order is very helpful. So let's get started with the first step. And the first step number 1, is focus on your future. So write that in the hashtag. The first step of getting from in the comments, the first step from getting from your breakup to your breakthrough is to focus on the future. Now, on the day that my ex-husband of 21 years said to me, I am not happy, I don't want to be married anymore, I had to go and deliver, I was scheduled to deliver a talk. I was scheduled to go coach women and to give a talk about resiliency in leaders. And I thought to myself, God, you are tripping. You are truly tripping. You've got to be tripping. That my whole world is falling apart and you want me to go talk to these women about being resilient. I ain't resilient nothing, right? That's how I felt. And I'm, on the one hand, I could have just called them up and canceled. But, I just didn't want to call up and cancel. One, I'm kind of crazy like that. I just didn't want to disappoint. Not that I didn't want to disappoint, but I felt that I needed to show up. I felt that I needed to show up, especially on that day when I had the best excuse in the world. Because I'm sure, had I called them up and said, my ex-husband or my husband just told me he wants a divorce. I'm sorry, I can't show up to talk to y'all about resiliency today. I'm sure they would have understood. But I needed to show up. And what that moment did, and I did indeed show up. Because fortunately, or unfortunately, however you want to describe it, we had the conversation probably about 8 o'clock or so that morning, and I was scheduled to be there at noon. So I had 4 hours to get myself together so that I could go and talk to these women about resiliency. And I'm so glad that I did, not only just to get me in the right frame of mind and just to get me out of, oh my God, my whole world's about to implode, I'm just gonna fall apart. But the very thing that I had to talk to them about that day was what I needed to hear. And I talked to them about their belief system. I talked to them about their people, having the right people in their lives. I talked to them about having the right systems and processes and structures and resources. I talked to them about being motivated and determined, and I talked to them about knowing their why. And in that moment, I needed to focus on my future rather than focusing on the devastation of what I was about to go through. And so, by showing up for them, I was able to show up for myself. And so it's really very important to recognize that, and I don't say this lightly because I've been there myself. When you face a devastation, when you face a loss, it could be loss of a business, it could be loss of a loved one, it could be literally the breakup. When you break away from anything that has a piece of your heart, the immediate response is just to fall apart. You get stuck. You don't know where to go because everything is changing. Everything is shifting. What you knew was real is no longer real. What you thought was going to be forever is no longer. And so, even though your first inclination is to fall apart, that is the very moment when you need to recognize that life will and life must go on. It may not need to go on that day. I'm not saying that you need to immediately just, okay, I'm going to get it all together. I'm going to get it. Everything's going to be fine like right now. No, what I'm saying is making the decision. Life will go on. Life is going to go on. And you know what? It may not be today, but there is going to be a day where I'm going to get to my future. That's why it is so important for you to focus on your future. So for those of you who are out there online, here's what I want you to declare. Hashtag, my life will go on. And it will. It won't be the same. It won't look like it looked before. But how it looks, here's the thing, how it looks is all up to you. It's your choice. And that's the beauty of, as I said, I started this out with telling you that loss is beautiful. Loss can be beautiful because after a loss, after a devastation, nature has shown us that there's always a renaissance. So even though you're in the devastation now, you have a choice to make that transition to the celebration of your renaissance. So, even though you don't have to deal with it today, and I'm not saying you get it all together right now at this very moment, just make the choice that you will be able to move on. That's why step one is focus on your future. So if you've not already put that in the comments, somebody put that in the comments for me. Hashtag focus on your future. Step one, focus on your future. And here's what I want you to take away. Here's the takeaway from this step. Put this in the comments. Focus on what you cannot see until you see it. Focus on what you cannot see until you see it. Because in the immediacy of the devastation, all you see is the devastation until you choose to see beyond the devastation, to see the celebration of the Renaissance. So even though you may not be able to see the Renaissance right now, focus on the Renaissance until you can see the Renaissance. Focus on the Renaissance until you become the Renaissance and until you are actually living the rebirth of you. All right? So now let's move on to step two. All right? Because remember, these are 5 critical steps of getting back to the business of you after a breakup. Okay? So step 1, focus on your future. Step 2 is free yourself from forgiveness. Free yourself from forgiveness. Now I'll share with you, the day after, so day 1 I had to go and deliver this talk, right? Day 2, I happened to go go to the movies. I have no idea why I went to the movies this day, but I went to the movies to see Barbershop 3, I think. Barbershop 2 or 3, one of the barbershops. So anyway, it's the one with Common and Eve. And there's a scene where, you know, they're kind of going through a little turbulence in their marriage, and I think Common comes back to their house or whatever, and Common and Eve are having this conversation on the porch of their house, and basically, you know, they're having their come to Jesus moment and reconciling and kind of going through this. So I'm like, okay, all right. Now I see it's all my fault, right? So at that moment, because one of the things that the Eve character talked about, I forgot what her character's called in there, but anyway, that's irrelevant, that's beside the point. But one of the things that she said was, or she recognized how, you know, she was not telling him or showing him how much she appreciated him. I think that was kind of the nexus of the conversation. So I'm like, aha, that's what was wrong with me, right? I didn't appreciate him. I didn't show him this. I went through all the reasons that it was all my fault, you know, because I'm analytical, okay? Can't give up being an attorney. So I analyzed everything and I figured out why it was all my fault. And I went back to the house because, you know, this was all very new and he lived upstairs. So I lived downstairs, he lived upstairs. He hadn't moved out of the house yet. And so I went upstairs and I go up there and I talk to him and I'm like, well, you know, I just been thinking about things. I just want you to know that I apologize. That I took you for granted and I asked for his forgiveness. Will you forgive me? And I just kind of went through this litany of all these things that I thought I had done wrong and I asked for his forgiveness. And then I felt, okay, life is better, okay? But here's the empowerment of that moment. Because one of the very crucial steps in getting from your breakup to your breakthrough is this. You have to understand your role. Because there are always two sides to it. You know, you're never in a relationship by yourself. It's always two people. And you are dishonest with yourself if you don't at least evaluate what you have contributed to the breakup. Now, you may ultimately find that you did all that you could do. You did your best. Because sometimes people just make a decision that they don't want to be with you. And that's a whole nother situation. You know, because your worth is not determined by someone else's choices. And so when they make the choice, you know what, I want to do something else. I want a younger version. I want an older version. I want a different version. I want to be by myself. Whatever the choice is, that does not define who you are. But it is very important in this process of getting back to the business of you to understand your role, because this is all about your renaissance, getting back to you. And you can't be reborn if you don't recognize what must die. You might want to put that in the comments. You cannot be reborn until you recognize what must die. And sometimes the relationship needs to die and be reborn in another form. Sometimes reconciliation truly comes from this act of forgiveness. But that's not the point, because one of the things that I want you to understand, that this is not about getting to your next relationship necessarily. This is not the focus. This is about getting back to you. Because if you want to get to the next relationship and you want it to be better than the one you had before, or if you need to recreate the relationship that you have and create something new, you've got to bring to it a new you. Because if you bring the old you, and he brings the old him, well, you got the same thing and you're not going to go forward. So many times you must, in order to be reborn, you must recognize what must die. So part of this process, to free yourself from forgiveness, you have to understand your role, ask for forgiveness, and move on. Now here's the thing. Sometimes the forgiveness is reciprocated, but many times it's not. And that's not the point. Because this is all about you and getting back to you. And you cannot fix what you will not face. I'll say that again. You cannot fix what you will not face. So this is all about facing what you need to forgive yourself for. Because sometimes you need to forgive yourself. You might need to forgive yourself for the things that you could have done better, should have done better, would have done. Because there are always things that you could have done better. Okay? But Forgiveness is a very powerful thing because it releases you to get to the next step. Because, I see way too many women, and I'm talking to mostly women right now, because I can only talk about this from experience of being a woman. Men break up too. Men experience the same thing, but I've never been a man and trying to be a man. I'm talking about my experiences as a woman. And what, in making this decision to ask for forgiveness, what I decided for me was that I was not going to be the woman 5 years from now, mad as hell at him or something he didn't do, shouldn't have done, whatever, and I'm blocking my own joy. Because that's what we have to understand. Because there are far too many of us that are holding on to hurt from years ago. We're holding on to hurt from last week. We're holding on to hurt 10 years ago. And when you hold on to that hurt, that anger, that resentment, whatever it is, being pissed off, however you want to call it, when you hold on to that, you are holding yourself back. So forgiveness is not about them. And it could be, I'll just say this. When you forgive the other person for the things that they've done to you, you release their power over you. Because as long as you are angry at whatever it is they did, I don't care how egregious or whatever, if it's infidelity, if you mad at him, you mad at her, you mad at the other him, whatever it is, whatever the situation is, if you're mad about that, he didn't do this or he didn't, whatever it is that you're angry about, that anger is holding you hostage. And this is about breaking yourself free. So forgiveness is powerful. It is not a concession. It is not a justification of what he did. It's not saying that he was right or you were wrong. It's not saying that you were right and he was wrong. It's just saying it is giving you clarity. Clarity that helps you to understand what is within your control and what is out. And here's something that as powerful women, and we are all powerful in our own ways, the greatest power is letting go what is holding you back. Your greatest power is letting go what is holding you back. And when you hold on to anger, when you hold on to fear, when you hold on to resentment, when you hold on to he should have, he didn't, you are pouring all of this energy into somebody else's choices. And guess whose choices you have the ability to change? Yours. You clap. Yeah. You clap this. Clap, girl, clap, yes. You are giving someone else's choices power over your life. And forgiveness is about having clarity between the choices you can make and the choices that belong to somebody else. And you put those things into two piles and you get a finger to that pile that's theirs, okay? And you focus on what you can change. And that's your choices. And so forgiveness is freedom. Put that in the comments. Forgiveness is freedom. It is not exoneration. It is not an excuse. It is not a justification. It is the release that you deserve to get to your rebirth. Forgiveness is freedom. And, one of the most powerful things that I learned in my entire experience is that sometimes God will take from you what you will not let go. Okay? Sometimes God will take from you what you will not let go. And, we may be praying and praying and praying for some situation to heal, for some situation to change, when what we really need to do is let it go. And in letting it go, it doesn't mean you're giving up on the relationship, but what it simply means is you are deciding to focus on what you can change and the choices that you have power over, and the rest of that stuff you let it go. Because until you get to you, until you heal you, it doesn't matter whether it's him or anybody else. You're not going to bring the person that you deserve to be into the relationship. Okay? So remember that. Step 3, forgiveness is freedom. Free yourself through forgiveness. So now let's move on to step 3. Step 3. And the third step is this. You must master your fears. You must master your fears. And the thing is this, I remember literally the third day afterwards, and I really became afraid because I had been married for 21 years. 21 years. We had been together for 22 years. And so all I knew about love, about marriage, about being an adult, because we married when I was 22 and he was 23. We grew up together, okay? So everything I had ever done as a true adult had been done together. I was in a startup business. We just moved to a new state. I was trying to finish up my dissertation. Just, in this state of transition where I was not really at a point where I thought I could take care of myself, you know. And so I got really afraid. And because I was so afraid, I was like, well, I got to figure out how he's going to take me back because I can't make it on my own. And so, I go through this whole thing of, all right, so what if I do this? What if I do? Go through this whole negotiation, and it was a negotiation out of fear. Okay, and that is not a good place to be, because when when fear is mastering you rather than you mastering the fears, you're going to make decisions that are not good. Now, maybe we did need to seek reconciliation, but we did not need to seek reconciliation because I was afraid I wasn't going to have health insurance, or he didn't need to take me back because he was afraid I wouldn't make it on my own. We needed to reconcile based on what we needed from each other, okay? So it's really important for you to face your fears and look for solutions, because fears are like a problem. And here's really what a fear is. Fear is the natural pause that allows you to make a risk assessment. That's how our bodies are made up. We are given the gift of fear. Okay, and that's not an anomaly. You didn't hear me wrong. We're given the gift of fear, because what fear does is it says, hey, stop for a minute. Now let's think about the pros. Let's think about the cons. Let's weigh the risks. Let's weigh the benefits, and then you move forward. Fear is that natural instinct that helps us to make healthy decisions about going forward. Now, fear becomes unhealthy when we allow fear to become a stop sign. And instead of moving forward, we just stop completely. We don't make the assessment. We make the decision based on the fear that is something that the risk is too big, and then we don't give ourselves the chance to grow. So, fear is natural, and it's dishonest to even suggest that when you go through a breakup, because it is fearful, and especially if you're in a situation where perhaps you were not the dominant financial partner, or you are a stay-at-home mom, or you're like I was in a startup business, or you're just afraid about, or it's just that you're just wondering how are you going to survive off of one income instead of two. I mean, these are very real things that we need to think about, even and especially when you have children. Because it's a very different situation. And the thing is that have the fear, but allow the fear to be that natural, healthy pause. Don't allow it to be the block that keeps you from moving forward, or put you in a place where you begin to make decisions because you are afraid, not decisions where you have done a healthy risk assessment of what's going on. And that's one great thing about being in business. I mean, we deal with business fears all the time. What if we don't have enough clients? What if we don't have enough sales? What if I don't get promoted? What if I get fired? I mean, we deal with all these things, or even the parts of our businesses that we handle. We handle risk assessments all the time in our businesses. But then when it comes to ourselves, we're unable to do that. And that's why, as a business coach, I have focused on this issue, because I want us to be empowered by the skills that we have that get us out of business, that help us to solve business problems all the time and solve them for ourselves. Because it's really no different, but the stakes are much higher, because this is our joy we're talking about. This is our life we're talking about. Your joy is worth the time that it takes to solve the problem. So fear is simply a problem that can be solved. And so it is important for you to acknowledge that you're afraid, acknowledge exactly what you're afraid of, and then begin to look at the fear that you have. What's the likelihood that it's going to materialize? And, weigh that on a scale of 1 to 5. And if it's a 1, then forget about it. If it's a 5 or whatever number, between 2 and 5, then figure out a solution. Who can help you? Because in it's like buying insurance for your life, right? insurance mitigates a loss. So what's your life insurance? What is it that you're going to do to solve the problem that is causing you to be afraid? But the first thing is to acknowledge the fear. And the thing is, you're never powerless. Even though you may not like the consequences, and the consequences may be something that are something that is going to be difficult for you. It's going to cause some hardship. It's going to cause a little discomfort. You may not like the consequences, but you always have a choice. And this is all about making the choice to move past your fear. So there's power when you weigh these options. There's power when you make the decision that you are bigger than any fear. You are bigger than any fear because you have the power to decide how you're going to solve the problem that your fear presents rather than to allow your fear to overtake you. You have that power. So remember this. Fear is the healthy pause that prepares you for what's next. Fear is the healthy pause that prepares you for what's next. So someone out there online, please put that in the comment. Hashtag fear is the healthy pause that prepares you for what's next. So let's move on to step 4. Step 4 is really very important because it's the place where a lot of us get stuck, and it's the place that jacks a lot of us up. And that is this. Step 4 is you must get your feelings out and then get out of your feelings. Okay? Get your feelings out and then get out of your feelings. Because, the thing is, you have to deal with your feelings. You cannot hold them in. Deal with your feelings. Do not hold them in. If you're mad, let it out. If you're sad, cry it out. If you are just in a rage, get it out. Now look, don't go to Carrie Underwood and Jasmine Sullivan route, Blue Cantrell, where you're going to go and key up somebody's car, bust the windows out your car. Because here's the thing, Jasmine Sullivan was singing a song, but if you go bust the windows out somebody's car, key your initials, you going to jail. Okay, then we got a whole nother issue, right? So I'm making levity. I'm just adding a little levity here. But the point I want to make is this. Deal with your feelings in a way that is not going to create bigger problems for you. That's why I say get out of your feelings, because a lot of us are making life decisions, we're making custody decisions, we're making business decisions, we're making financial decisions, and we're all up in our feelings. And we are hurting ourselves and we're hurting other people. And here's just one thing I'm just going to say. If you have children in a breakup and you're using those children to deal with your losses, that's not a good move. That's a punk move. I'm just gonna say it like that. And you cannot do that to yourself, and you should not do that to your children. I'm just gonna put that out there, and we're gonna move on about getting out of your feelings. But your children are not pawns in your love game, okay? And you might want to put that as a hashtag. Your children are not pawns in your love game. This is about you dealing with your feelings, your issues. That's why I say you got to get your feelings out, but then you got to get out of your feelings. Because, feeling hurt is not a sign of weakness. It is something that's very natural. And I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how great of a businesswoman you are. When you deal with hurt, that hurts. It hurts. It hurts your ego. It hurts your confidence. It hurts for somebody to say, I don't want you. It hurts for somebody to cheat on you. It hurts for somebody to say, I'm not happy. I don't want to be with you anymore. It hurts. I don't care what it is. It hurts. And you have to deal with that. And you have to deal with that in a way that is going to heal you and not hurt you. Which is why, you got to get out of your feelings. And the thing is this, we make decisions based on feelings, emotions, and on logic. And if you and you can't go to the extreme of either, because you can't be cold-hearted and not be compassionate in making your decision, and you can't be all up in your feelings and you making irrational decisions. You got to find that balance. But you got to lean more towards the logic side than you do the emotion side. Why? Because now you got to take care of the business of getting back to you. You got to take care of the business of transitioning your life so that you will be well positioned long term. Because there are too many women who lay down across the tracks when it comes to negotiating the business of a breakup. And let me just back up for a moment and say this. This is not a cold-hearted statement. This is a business statement. This is a real life statement. A breakup is a business deal. A breakup is a business deal. Why? You have to decide upon dividing of assets. You have to decide upon, if you have children, custody issues, child support, sometimes spousal support. It is a business deal. And you can't come to the business table making business decisions in your feelings, because you're either going to be on the vindictive side or you're going to be on the victim side. And neither side is good for you long term, and especially if you have children, it's not good for them. So when you come to that business table to negotiate the business deal of the breakup, you need to come prepared with logic. And you need to be in a state of mind where you can think through the long-term consequences of short-term decisions. So you have to be the advocate for yourself. And if you can't be an advocate for yourself, then either a lawyer or a trusted advisor needs to help you. Because, again, this is not being cold-hearted, and it's not, saying anything vindictive, but just a very real fact. A breakup is a business deal, and you need to handle your business. So that means if you're too emotional to make good decisions, don't make the decision in, because there are very few decisions that need to be made right then and there. So if you can't come to the business table and handle your business like a businesswoman, get up from the table. Don't come. Because you're going to make decisions that are going to hurt you and the other, your spouse, your ex-spouse, your ex-husband, your ex-significant other, your children. It's going to hurt all of you in the long term. So it's really important to be clear when you are dealing with the very issues of getting past, or handling the business of the breakup. And the thing is, you don't just get over it. And that's a very harsh thing to say. You don't just get over it. This is a process. I was very fortunate, and again, I was able to move from breakup to breakthrough in about 30 days. Now, does that mean my heart was completely healed? No. Do I still deal with issues? Yes. But the thing is, I was able to make decisions that helped me to choose to get past being in that devastation and start working on my renaissance. I've been working on my renaissance since about 31 days after my ex-husband decided that he wanted a divorce. And it was a decision. It wasn't an easy one, but it was a choice. And so this whole process is just about making decisions that help you to get to your rebirth. Because remember, you cannot have a rebirth until you recognize what needs to die. And all of those hurt feelings, you need to deal with them. You need to face those fears. You need to face those feelings. And then you need to get it out. Because when you hold it in, because a lot of times, we think that, well, I'll just be stoic. I'm just going to hold it in. I'm going to put on my big girl pants. This ain't the time to put on no big girl pants. Get naked. Get naked. Let all of that out. Now, here's one thing I do want to say. Now, just like you don't really, really get naked in front of everybody and anybody, this is not the time to bare your soul to any and everybody. And it's really not the time to put it on social media. Now, you may say, Stephanie, you're on here talking about your divorce on social media. Yes, but I'm not bashing my ex-husband. I'm not giving y'all all the details. This is a process. This is the cathartic process. Well, I'm just talking about the experiences, not about the person, right? Because you will regret it. You will regret it if you go on social media or if you badmouth your ex. Because when you get past the hurt, because some, and you may say some of them, yeah, they deserve it or whatever. It may be the truth. Yeah, it may be the truth, but not all truth needs to be laid out. Some truth needs to, just like, I think I have a very decent body, right? But just because I have a decent body doesn't mean I get on camera naked. I'm going to get on camera with my clothes on, right? Same thing with your truth. Your truth deserves to be clothed in a way that respects your story. Your truth deserves to be clothed in a way that respects your story. Because the thing is, I don't care how much they hurt you. I don't care what they've done. If they cheated, whatever it is, they are a product of your choices. So when you go on and you talk about them, you are talking about the choices you made, which means you are not necessarily reflecting positively on you. So let me just really back in and say, get it out, but get it out in a way that respects your story. So talk to somebody, a therapist. Do not underestimate the power and beauty of going to a therapist, because this is a process that requires you getting over it and getting through it. So talk to a therapist, talk to someone you trust, and be very careful about the friends you talk to, because not all friends have the capacity to handle your feelings, because some friends are emotionally invested in your marriage. So I know I couldn't talk to my family. I still don't talk to my family much about the divorce, because they loved my husband, ex-husband. They loved us. So they weren't really the people to talk to about the divorce, okay? So I had to find neutral people that I could trust and that I could talk to, who weren't emotionally invested in the marriage, in the divorce, and could hear me. And here's the thing, when you get it out, you're not going for advice as much as you're going to be heard. You need to be heard. And that's part of the healing, is to give voice to your story, to give voice to what it is you're feeling. Because you don't have to apologize for those feelings. You don't have to explain them. You don't have to validate them. All you need to do is express them and acknowledge your feelings. Get them out. Then once you are empty, then you are free to fill yourself with emotions that are going to help you get to your breakthrough. So you will feel better. It's just like, I'm going to be gross for a moment, okay? I'm going to be gross for a moment. But it's just like when you need to poop, okay? When you holding all that stuff in, it's got your stomach tight, you just feeling all bad because you got all this toxic, this waste inside of you. And after you go to the bathroom, you let it go, you get up, you wipe out, okay? Like, I'm going to get too gross. You get up from there, don't you feel better? Yes, and that's the thing about you need to have let's see, you have an emotional enema, okay? You need to have, I know that's kind of nasty and sound kind of, but you need to have an emotional enema. Get that out of you, okay? Get it out, because what it is, it stands for something. SHIT stands for self-held in toxicity. Self-held in toxicity. You holding all that stuff in, and you feeling all bloated, you feeling all nasty, you farting all over everybody, you feel uncomfortable, you need to let it go. Get it out. And then after that, you feel free, you feel that you are able then to make decisions that are based on logic and not based on your feelings. And plus you get it all out. So acknowledging your hurt is your pathway to healing. Acknowledging your hurt is your pathway to healing. So walk in it boldly. Walk in it at your pace. Your healing takes the time it takes. Now, I've shared, I went through a process, the initial process in 30 days. Am I telling you need to get over it in 30 days? No, I'm not. It takes the time it takes. But here's the thing. You've got to decide that it's going to have a time, that there is an end. You got to decide that you are going to heal and that you are going to embrace a healing, and that is at the end of the past. So again, step 4 is to get your feelings out and then get out your feelings. So the last critical step in beginning the journey, because like I said, this is a journey that takes a while. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen without going through a process. But these are the 5 critical steps that it takes of getting back to the business of you after a breakup. The 5th step is find strength in your vulnerability. Find strength in your vulnerability. I remember the 5th day, literally it was the 5th day after he announced he wanted a divorce. I went to a business conference in Atlanta, Georgia. And I was feeling particularly low because I had to describe him as something that wasn't quite my husband. He was still my husband, but he wasn't my husband. We were not together, but we were still there. I was just in this whole just space of feeling lost. And so I called him and then broke down on the phone, talking about, how much I loved him and how I lost. I mean, just a pitiful cry, all right? I just let it all out. I was like, I don't have anything else to lose. I done lost a man. I'm going to go and tell him how I feel, right? So I go through all this. He doesn't say anything. And then I sent a text. I'm just, I don't even remember what I would text it, but it was just, I just got it all out. How I felt. I truly felt lost at that point without him. I truly did, still love him at that point and all this. But I just let it all out. It's like I have nothing to lose. I said either he will say, oh my gosh, I feel the same way too, I'll take you back, or he'll do like he did and say nothing. Okay, so he said nothing, but I got it out. But here's what that did. I told him how I really felt. And I didn't lose anything by it. I didn't get what I hoped to gain, but I didn't lose anything. That moment of vulnerability, even though I felt pitiful and felt, crying and all that, carrying on the phone, messing up my makeup, all this kind of business, even though I felt, weakened at that moment, getting all of that out and just saying my truth, sharing my truth, made me feel stronger. Because I'm like, well, I'll never be able to say I never told him how I felt. And he'll never be able to say I didn't know how you felt. I told him. And so, the thing is, vulnerability is often mistaken for weakness, but it is the strongest thing that you can do. Because there's nothing stronger than to stand emotionally naked in front of a person and tell them your truth. Okay? And you're not doing it for the purpose of other than honoring your truth. Your truth is your truth. And we need to give voice to our truth. And again, just like forgiveness is not necessarily for them, being vulnerable is not necessarily for them. It's for you. Because when you can find the strength to say how you feel, if you feel lost, say it. If you feel angry, say it. If you feel sad, say it. However it is that you feel. If you feel remorseful, say that. If you feel that you could have done more, say that. Whatever it is, whatever your truth is, say it. If you feel I'm angry, I feel you should have, and do it in a way of not for the point of pointing fingers, but really sharing your truth. Because there is a strength in being able to do that. And the thing is, one of two things are going to happen. One, you don't have anything else to lose at this point. You truly don't. Because either things will stay the same, the relationship is ended, or it may open the door for resolution. Resolution doesn't necessarily always mean reconciliation, but you need resolution. Because many people who go through a relationship, or some people who go through the end of a relationship, have the fortune of giving each other closure. Closure is so very important. But it doesn't necessarily always take two people to get closure. It's about you getting it out. So when you share your truth, it gives you the closure. Now, whether they have closure, that's on them. Because remember, you divided those things into the things you have control over and the things you don't. We're focusing on what you have control over. You have control over your truth. Your truth will set you free. You get it. The truth will set you free. Your truth will set you free. Because when you hold your truth hostage, again, you're holding yourself back from being able to get to the breakthrough that you deserve. You stay in the breakup rather than getting to the breakthrough. So, being vulnerable is not being pitiful. It's not being weak. It is being strong enough to speak your truth. Being vulnerable is being strong enough to speak your truth. And what it ultimately does is it turns your sad story into a testimony. Because what I hope, you will appreciate from this, I'm being very transparent with you. I'm putting out, not all my business out there, but I am being transparent with you. I'm sharing a moment of vulnerability with you. And so what it has done for me is it has transformed what could have been a very sad story in my life to a testimony that not only helps me, but will perhaps help someone else. So being vulnerable is being strong enough, again, to share your truth. So we've gotten to the end of the 5 steps, that's 10, 5 steps that are critical to beginning your journey of breakup to breakthrough, those 5 critical steps that help you to get back to the business of you after a breakup. And for those of you who just joined, it's important to remember what those 5 steps are. And also for those of you who've been here the whole time, so that you know what those steps are to beginning this journey. The first thing is to focus on your future. Because if you focus on the devastation, that's all you'll see and that's where you'll be. So you've got to focus on the future. So we want to move past the devastation to the celebration of the rebirth, the renewal, and the renaissance. Step 2 was to free yourself through forgiveness. Free yourself through forgiveness. Because when you forgive the other person, it literally lightens your load. Carrying the hurt, the anger, the resentment, it is like walking around with a boulder on your back. You need to get that boulder off your back. Get that monkey off your back, okay? So free yourself through forgiveness. And remember, forgiveness is not a concession. It's not a justification. It's not an exoneration. It is a release that removes the power of their choices over you. Step 3 was to face your fears and find the solution. Master your fears. Master your fears. Because remember, your fears are simply a healthy pause that help you to prepare for what's next. Step 4 was to get your feelings out and then get out of your feelings. Get your feelings out and then get out of your feelings. Because remember, a breakup is a business deal. And so you need to come to the table and negotiate with logic and not with emotion. But most importantly, you need to get that shit out of you. Remember, self-held in toxicity. You need to get those feelings out so that you can feel light and be a vessel now for the new emotions that will be associated with your rebirth and your renewal. And then step 5 is to find strength in your vulnerability. So remember, vulnerability is the strength of sharing your truth. And it is truly that opportunity to turn your sad story into a testimony. Well, I thank you, those of you who are in the room, as well as those of you who are out there online, for joining me in Break Up to Breakthrough, 5 critical steps of getting back to the business of you after a breakup. And this is a very powerful conversation to begin, but as I mentioned, these are just the first 5 steps. This is an entire process. And if you would like to have a strategy session to help you get from your breakup to breakthrough, I encourage you to go to bit.ly/breakup to breakthrough. Again, that's bit.ly/breakup to breakthrough. And you can schedule a strategy session with me, and we can talk about the transformation that you will undergo in getting from your breakup to your breakthrough. So again, I'm Dr. Stephanie D. Barnes, CEO of C-Suite Women's Network, where I help women to be the CEOs of their lives so they can be better CEOs in their business. And any time we're dealing with business deals, sometimes business does not go as planned, and that can include the business of breakups. And so as a business coach, I help women to get the results that they desire in their business, which is why I want to help you to get back to the business of you if you've experienced a breakup. So again, you can go to bit.ly/breakup to breakthrough and schedule a strategy session, and we can talk about how you will get, or I can help you to get to the blueprint that's going to help you to get to the transformation that you desire, that you deserve, so that you can get back to the business of you and truly get to the renaissance that you desire and you deserve. So with that, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me. And I just want to just remind you that loss can be beautiful. And loss can be beautiful because you always have the opportunity to create a beautiful renaissance from the devastation. And the choice is up to you, and it is truly the power of your choices that determines the outcome of your life. So the product of your life is defined by the power of your choices. And so it's all up to you. It is that simple, yet much more complex. But it begins with your choice, your decision, that you are going to get past the breakup to get to your breakthrough. So With that, I'll just say thank you. I'm gonna find a graceful way to get off of this table so that I can come and turn off the recording. But I just want to say thank you so much for joining me again. I'm Dr. Stephanie D. Barnes, CEO of C-Suite Women's Network, and I encourage you to go to bit.ly/breakup to breakthrough to schedule your strategy session. And of course, if you want to connect with me, you can text me at 228-238-7997. Again, that's 228-238-7997, and let me know I'm ready for my breakthrough. And for those of you where this has resonated with you and you're ready for your breakthrough, just put that in the comment. Hashtag I am ready for my breakthrough. So thanks a lot. I appreciate you, and your breakthrough is coming.